If what we say we want is not going to bring us happiness, is going to increase our stress, and we're not likely to be successful, do you think it's what we really want?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the KTS Success Factor podcast for women, where we talk about challenges senior female leaders face in being happy and successful at work. I'm your host, Dr. Sarah E. Brown.
I'm continuing the discussion of coaching in this episode. As a brief review, coaching is a process where you pay a trained professional to help you get clear about goals you want to pursue, keep you accountable for working on them, help you find ways around obstacles, and generally be your cheerleader. The benefit is that you develop clarity and focus on pursuing what is important to you. And as a result, you are much more likely to achieve it. Self-coaching is basically the same process, but you are the director of that process. You still work with another human being to get clear about what is important to you in terms of goals, to find ways around the obstacles, and to keep you accountable for taking action. The difference is that the individual with whom you work is not trained to be a coach, and you do not pay them. They just know and care about you. You take 100% responsibility for the process and for providing them with the tools and questions with which they're going to work with you to help you gain the clarity and confidence and commitment to proceed. The benefit is that you get the outcomes of coaching without the associated payments. There's also a middle ground, which I implement in companies called peer coaching. In this situation, coach and coachee are trained at the same time on the tools of the coaching process, and each individual gets all the benefits of coaching. In the coaching process, whether with a paid coach or in a self or peer coaching situation, the coachee does most of the talking, just prompted by the questions that the coach asks. The whole purpose of coaching is to support the individual to get clear about what she wants and needs to do. That is why coaching is often referred to as support to report, because the coach is just supporting the coachee to report what is important or needs to happen. Mentoring is altogether different. In the mentoring process, the mentor does most of the talking. He or she is sharing stories from the past or offering advice, all designed to help the mentee avoid learning something by trial and error. That is why mentoring is often called share to spare, because the mentor is doing most of the talking and is sharing something to spare the mentee a potential cost if she did not have that information ahead of time. You can see, however, that this only would be beneficial if the mentee knows what she is trying to accomplish, so that the advice is relevant and makes sense. When a mentee has done the coaching work, the mentoring can be quite efficient. This is what I call 5-minute mentoring, because the mentoring conversations can be short and sweet. In episode 67, I shared with listeners the first steps in self-coaching, getting really clear about what you want. And as a way to get started, I introduced you to the 3-step Know Thyself process. Know, take a little kernel of information about you. 2, test it with someone who knows and cares about you. 3, go and take action on that. In that episode, I focused on the know step, and I suggested that you could get started with knowledge of your interests, strengths, and motivational needs. And I shared some exercises you could do to get clear about what these are for you. Then I suggested that you share this with another human being. It seems to be the case that we do not get clear about what we really want until we do this. So I suggested that you take the first step at getting clarity about what you want by just sharing your interests, strengths, and needs with another caring person and dialogue with them about what it means to you. In that episode, or in this episode, actually, I'm going to build a little more on the know step, but I'm emphasizing now step 2, test, and step 3, go in the Know Thyself process, and how this forms the foundation for the overall self-coaching mechanism itself. If you followed my suggestion from episode 67, you've already made a little progress on step 2, the test step in the Know Thyself process, by sharing your interests, strengths, and needs. Because when you did, I bet it started to get clear what you wanted. You probably got some insights into the kinds of activities that you really enjoy and want to do more of. You probably saw activities you want to avoid and shared examples with your coach from your past. You probably even shared with your coach where and why some stress was creeping into your life. So what would testing, step 2, look like in this case? The test component would be looking at whether what you say you want is actually what you really want. For example, if what you say you want, it requires you to spend more time on activities you hate, is it going to make you happy? If what you say you want requires strengths that are not yours, are you going to be successful? If what you say you want is going to require you to spend time in stressful situations where your needs are not being met, is the increased stress worth it? When you share what you want with someone who has a good handle on your interests, strengths, and needs, they're going to be able to see immediately whether what you say you want is congruent with who you really are. This is important. If what we say we want is not going to bring us happiness, is going to increase our stress, and we're not likely to be successful, do you think it's what we really want? Sharing what we think we want with another caring person and then looking at how congruent this is with our interests, strengths, and needs is the essence of the test step. But I want to take this a little bit further, because let's face it, we often are dissatisfied with what's going on around us. And what we say to our self-selected coach is something like, "You will never believe what happened to me today. I found a leak in the basement, my website crashed, and my mother's health took a turn for the worst. I am so frustrated. I don't know what to do. It's like the universe is conspiring against me." This all really happened to me one day, by the way. Hi, this is Sarah Brown again, the host of the KTS Success Factor podcast for women. I hope you are enjoying this episode and gaining some tips and inspiration on how you can be happier, more successful, and experience less stress at work. If you would like to learn more about how you can empower the women in your organization to do the same, simply click on the show notes to see how you can connect with me. As an added bonus for my podcast guests, you will see how you can book 30 minutes with me to explore how you can implement a scalable self-coaching program for the women in your organization. Simply visit bookachatwithsarahebrown.com. Now back to this informative episode. In this situation, we're not starting with a lot of data about the person. We are starting with life, what's going on right now. If everything were going on hunky-dory, then I doubt the coachee would actually be bringing stuff like this up. So we have a situation where the current surroundings for the coachee is not what the coachee wants, but what does she want? And what do you do when life happens? The outcome of any good coaching interaction is greater clarity on what the coachee wants and getting her going down the path of achieving it. Knowing what the coachee does not want is insufficient. you have to know what the coachee actually does want. So what the coach can do is fish around for that kernel of information in the know step that we're looking for. What does the coachee want? In my example, it might seem obvious that I want a day that is less stressful. But what is less stressful to me may not be the same as what is less stressful for you. So then we go back to clarifying what that might look like. In my case, this situation was stressful because my needs were not being met. My needs are having order and having plenty of time to address maintenance in a non-rushed fashion. The coach can ask me repeatedly, what do you want, until I get my needs addressed or get to this level of clarity. Even though clarifying what the coachee wants is the essence of the know step, this is actually a good test steps question as well. What do you want? Because you're testing what the coachee says and verifying it is really what she wants. And to finish the story about my stressful day, what I got clear about while working with my coach is that I needed to put stopgap measures in place so I could address everything in a logical, systematic manner. I could turn the water off to the basement area and use a bucket as a stopgap. My website could remain down until I had time to think this through carefully. I needed to be with my mom, and that's what I did. Eventually, I got everything back up and running again, including my mom. However, while needs are important, there's more to creating a life we love. Needs are necessary, but seldom sufficient for long-term happiness. So if my coach can just keep asking me what I want, after initial stability is established, of course, then it will eventually come out that what I want is to continue to work on my business that serves women to be more economically and socially empowered. So back to step 2, test. We talked about continuing to ask the question, what do you want, until some clarity is gained. But once you have what you think is clarity on what is wanted and how to proceed, there are additional tests. For one thing, does my statement of what I want and my plan of action address my interests, strengths, and needs? My work and the mission of my business does. I love research and teaching, and that's how I pursue this mission. I'm good at listening to others and being empathetic. And when I'm doing all of this with my needs met, I am happy. The final test question is often, is there a benefit to others? Because we do not live in a vacuum and we cannot act as if we are all that matters. In the case of my business and where I want to focus to be coming out of my coaching session, the benefit is the increased empowerment of the women I serve. So let's review the test questions that can be used in the second step of the Know Thyself process. What do you want? Continually asking until there is real clarity. How is this congruent with your interests, strengths, and needs? And what is the benefit to others? If we've done all this well, we know what I want and we've tested it. Now the challenge is to get me into action to achieve it, particularly when there are life events in the way, like all of those things that happened that day. And that can be achieved by just getting me to commit to taking one small step. Maybe it's as simple as designing the next workshop for a corporate client. Or maybe it's getting me to clearly spell out a goal along the way, like getting 3 more corporate clients by the end of the year. This is the go step. So let's review the Know Thyself process. Know, what is it that the coachee wants? And you can get that by just continually asking, what do you want? Test. Keep asking, what do you want, until it's crystal clear. Yes, there's a bit of duplication here. Is it in line with the individual's interests, strengths, and needs? And is there good in it for others? Go. What can the coachee do to get moving toward what she wants and any goals related to it? This set of questions is all the coachee needs to give her coach to enable this self-coaching conversation to proceed. Pretty straightforward, right? However, I want to be honest, getting clear about what we want is not always as simple as I've outlined it here. I've spent years clarifying what I want, and I'm still learning. But I'm never going to make progress if I'm not in action on what I do know or think I know. As I act, I generate more data on me that I can take to my coach to work through the Know Thyself process. And as I talk out what I have done, what the outcomes were, and what I have learned in the process, I continue to get clearer and clearer. Try the Know, Test, Go process for yourself. Either have a specific conversation about what you want or deal with a real life situation that is not to your liking. And then let me know how it goes. You can go to my website, sarahebrown.com, and send me a message on how this worked for you. I can then address any questions in a future blog or podcast.
Thanks for listening to the KTS Success Factor podcast for women. If you like what you are hearing, please go to iTunes to subscribe, rate us, and leave a review. And if you would like more information on how we can help women in your organization to thrive, then go to www.sarahebrown.com. You can sign up for our newsletter, read show notes and learn more about our podcast guests, read my blog, browse through the books, or contact us for a chat. Goodbye for now.